welcome to FaceHammer episode 96. It's me, Russ the Face. I'm joined by Byron the Bee Dizzle and Les the Big Cat.
Big cat joined by Little
Pirate Cat.
As he's got a little cat
Pip
on this.
Pip the Rage Monster, who is asleep currently behind me. No, there we are.
You've woken the beast. That's like, don't wake the dragon. Don't wake the dragon.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Shadow and Pain, some of the new War Scrolls, and we've got a Idoneth list that I just want to show and talk about, which isn't that exciting, but it's just using the new War Scrolls.
It is. Sharks, mate. Cool.
And they do feature.
Super exciting.
And
don't undersell it. People are going to be like,
I don't want people to think it's like I'm sort of toting it as like the next winning list or something. It's a cool list, but it's not like...
Coming up, we have the most exciting shark list you have ever seen.
Yeah, ever.
Ever.
There you go.
It's not that imaginative. And then we're going to look at some of the pictures of models and stuff as well. So we've got a couple of things to share before we get into the bulk of it.
It's quite cool. People have been putting stuff on the FaceHammer Discord, so please feel free to join if you're not joined already. It's
quality's amazing.
When people talk lists and shares pictures and stuff, it's really cool.
Yes.
Occasionally I even use it.
Yeah, we duck in and out, but it's good to see that people are kind of having back and forth conversations and people are joining every day. So if you want to join that community and join in and share your pictures and army list thoughts, then hop over the links in the video description. And on our channel main page, I believe, on YouTube.
Indeed, yes.
Before we get into look at some pictures, we probably want to talk about something quite exciting for December, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Christmas.
Yeah.
Better than Christmas. Better than lockdown Christmas.
Dye my beard white.
Yeah.
I'm going to dye my beard white. Spray it white for the Christmas thing, because they get the snow spray.
You've got to do that
Put
now.
a red hat on.
You've got to do that.
Light up baubles.
You've said
baubles.
I put baubles in my beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say lots of stuff online, and I'd never.
Les has promised for the 25th of December's show that there's going to be some baubles in a beard. Fact.
I may embrace Christmas this year. Being somebody that hates Christmas, I might spray my beard white just for lols on a show.
Excellent. What else are we going to do for Christmas?
Russ is going to dress up like an elf. He can be my elf. I'll be Santa. You can be Mrs. Claus, and Russ can be the elf helper.
Sweet.
I'm surely I will be Santa. I'm the one with the gut. I'm the one who.
I don't think at any point this needs to make sense for us. That's giving it far too much credit in it as well.
Exactly.
Also, well as dressing up for Christmas, which we're 100% doing, followed by Les's amazing example. We are going to be doing a advent calendar of content. So every single day of December. It's a long month. It's a long couple of months.
Lockdown takes its toll on Byron.
Oh, God. It's like... 2 months late for that, dude. We're going to be putting out a piece of short content, so 10 minutes or whatever, on any topic we think is a great idea, whether it's like top 5 allies for someone, or our favourite list from X, or how to paint armour fast in way Y. And given that there's 25 days worth of content there, we would love your suggestions on what you'd like to see. I try and keep it to something that we can cover in like 10, 12, 15 minutes max or something like that. But we'd love your suggestions on what you'd like to see us go over. Are there any suggestions that you guys have got of things that you're particularly keen to do individually?
I want to talk about how great the Black Coach is. I'm determined to make Nighthaunt great again.
Well, there's not going to be any argument there. That sounds like a fact.
I want to do top 10 silly hats in Sigmar. So you've got like the K guys from the Alaref Temple.
Is it just going to be all the Lumineth units?
I can imagine that thumb just hats. Like their hats arrayed around the screen.
If you haven't seen it, check out Never Chosen as well, with a hat reference.
Yeah. So if you want to put in the Discord, we'll have a Discord section set up, which is Advent Calendar Show suggestions, and also if you want to comment below or just like at us on Twitter or Insta.
Let us know.
But yeah, I do think that the meta choice is top 10 hats of Sigmar personally. But there we are.
Yeah, so we'll want to do a show a day. throughout Christmas, on the lead up to Christmas, and on the Christmas day, we're hoping to have a bit of a longer show that we can do, so a bit more of like a Christmas special. But we're going to try and do that daily. So put your ideas below and let us know.
That'd be cool. So there's not going to be great big long shows over the December period. It's going to be like more of these little ones, and then hopefully that one big one and stuff. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, unless there's a release which we'll cover, but I'm not sure that there's much coming up. But there is a preview coming up this weekend, so we're planning to record a video on that. So give you guys the lowdown on the stuff that's there.
That'll be good. It'd be nice to see Byron's scathing comments on busy models again. Then you can jump on and see that.
Let's go. I'm gonna go in deep on my thoughts on the latest Lord of the Rings units, which I know loads about.
Yeah, or you could watch Adam and Choke talk about it, and you've got that anyway. So
don't be mean to Adam. Adam's a bro. He's a Dark Angel bro. Me and Adam are bros. He's lovely every time I see him.
Yeah.
Nice to him.
So we thought we'd show some models off. Chris of Fluff Tattoos has joined our Discord recently and shared some of his pictures of his Idoneth. So we just thought we would show you that this really nice Eidolon that he's done, which looks awesome.
Yeah, excuse phones, guys. I'm just looking at the picture because I can't see what Chris has put in the thing. Yeah, Chris is a legend, really nice guy, friend of the show, and yeah.
So he's done the base looks like the waves like breaking on the edge of the base, which I think is a really cool idea.
Lovely. Yeah. Sweet turquoise fish.
With how he does stuff, right? Like Chris is always he's always pushing something. Be it, I think with his Stormcast army, there was like lightning on the Star Drake. With this, he's now like improved the base in. I think he's
mega efficient too.
Nice, yeah.
He spends his time wisely. Whatever model Chris is doing, I mean, he's a tattooist by trade, so his job is to be a professional artist and has been for years, and that obviously counts for a massive amount.
I love his the little turquoise fish at the front.
It's so good.
Favourite bit on the base.
Yeah.
It's really nice to paint.
He's looking for the manta that you get with the Eidolon. I'm not sure if someone's hit him up, so hit him up on Twitter. I'll put the link in the description below. So that you can see, because if you've got one of those mantas, I know he's desperate for one, so hit him up.
What, off the Eidolon?
Yeah, he wants one of the mantas. There's two different. When you build them, you can put like a manta coming off the side of it. I think it's on the aspect of the sea, not the combat one, the magic-y one.
Oh, okay. I've got an Eidolon in a box, so if he wants one, he can.
Yeah. I think I have to.
DMs, yeah.
We might be able to sort him out instantly.
Sure.
I gave all of my fish bits to Chewy, so I've got none left because I've had two Eidolon farmers over the years.
We're not even going to ask. Let's just move swiftly on.
It's like Chewy on your fish bits.
Stop it.
Right. So
moving on from
PG-13.
Moving on from chewing on fish bits.
And Chris is working on his Leviathan.
It's good, isn't it? Look at that dotting.
Yeah. And he's been using his Series D brush.
Series D.
To do his stippling.
What a man.
It's like Dave Soper Course 101, this stuff, isn't it? Like stippling on and this and the blister pack like plastic water drops on the other. So
yeah.
He's done it on the bottom of that as well. You can see it like the bottom part. You can see he's got the water there, which is also really good. I think one of the things that Chris is really good at doing is he's very graphic with how he approaches things. Obviously, being a tattoo artist, he's looking at like the color choices he makes are really good. So like that dark browny red going into almost yellow with the black
contrast.
Line. Yeah, it's really nice. I think that's what a lot of people don't do enough of, is show contrast in their models. It's like if it's all like a beige mid-tone, you want to have the light points extreme light and the dark points extreme light, in my opinion.
That is something
that I need to.
Nice turtle.
It is a nice turtle.
Yeah, and I think I'm just thinking about a bonus picture. I'm doing something on the fly now because we had a message from Liam Alford, and he had his turtle with a big wave crashing on a statue of Sigmar.
Oh, the one he was. Yeah, he was calling.
So let me just see if I can bring that up. There we go.
He offered me out. No, he didn't offer me out. I said that we'd play a game if we ever got to play.
So yeah, I've got that on the screen now. So I apologise, guys. The other two, I've ambushed you with that. But I just looking at just talking about the waves and that. I think it'd be remiss not to show that the beautiful wave crash effect that's going on there. So yeah, really nice. We like that it was tweeted to us, so we spoke to him a little bit on Twitter back and forth. So yeah, pretty cool.
Good models.
So the other things I want to show, because obviously Sons of Behemat show and stuff, and we've got this really nice man crusher from our Discord as well. And I'll get the guy. Is it Swood Madden?
Such good use of ogre bits to match it up with its bigger bro with the gut plate.
Yeah, that's off the Stonehorn, isn't it? Off the shoulders.
Shoulder.
Yeah,
shoulder from Stonehorn. Yeah.
I like the Iron Fist as well.
It's great.
I like it. Yeah, it's got like shredder claws off of Teenage Mutant Turtles.
Yeah.
Cool. Everything refers to turtles at the moment with me. I'm sorry, internet.
It's alright. It's cool. I think I really like how kind of the blue is very almost luminous in places. And I like the subtle kind of patterning on the leg as well. I think it's really cool. So
his skins come from a reddy brown base, and then you've got the blue, and there's just a lovely amount of gorgeous contrast between them all over the model. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, super good. So digging that a lot. Thanks for sharing. And because Vince has finished his like crazy converted man crushers, I thought we'd share these as well. So Vince Ventura from Warhammer Weekly, so totally digging these. Really, really nice job on them. I think I love the veining on the skin. I think it's brilliant.
So striking, isn't it? Yeah, it's wicked.
I like the guy with like the punch dagger that looks like Pyramid Head off of Silent Hill.
Yeah. But I think
the front of a Dark Eldar vehicle.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
It's like random bits from all over the place. There's obviously like a Dark Eldar. What are they called? The things with like the tendrils.
Talos Pain Engine.
Yeah. I remember the Talos was like a scorpion. That's what I remember it from.
That was the first one.
Yeah,
the metal one.
Yeah, metal scorpion.
Anywhere, right?
Yeah, I loved it.
With the guy with like his arms tied back.
It made me collect the army. How random is that?
I love the Talos Pain Engine. In 8th edition, I bought a Talos Pain Engine because they come with all those weird sort of like SM blank faces, and I use that on my Nurgle Demon Prince in 8th edition.
If you want something to look evil, remove its eyes. Top tip.
Yeah. So that's our kind of thing there. So I just thought we'd do that. But I guess now we've given these shout outs and done that, we'll get into the main topic of the show. So we'll just take a quick break and we'll come back and get into it. Hi, and we're back. So let's talk about the new Shadow and Pain box which was released that we didn't cover when we did our Morathi show. But there's the book from it.
No, I need to read the background. Apparently the background's really good.
Yeah, they released I don't know if you saw it as well. They released a synopsis of Morathi on the Warhammer community site, like a TLDR version.
Did you sign up to the Broken Realms newsletter where they send you stuff on the website? Yeah, so that's been quite cool. I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, did you read that short story?
I thought it was good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so we might do a little bit more of a lore catch up because our lore show went down quite well. So thanks to people who watched that. If you haven't, then check it out. That'd be cool if you want to know what happens in the background.
And Russ wax lyrical about it.
It's all about Van Breck, mate. Just saying. We're on to the WARSCROLL. So obviously the Melusdai Ironscale was a character that's mentioned in the book, but the WARSCROLL isn't in the Morathi book. It was in the Shadow and Pain book. So we in the box set, and since been put on the website. So when we recorded our Broken Realms Morathi show, we didn't have access to it, so we didn't cover it, but figured we'd revisit. And talk about these new WARSCROLLs. So the Melusdai Ironscale is a character for the snacks, as Les would say.
Next.
Is that a snack on your chair? No. So essentially, what you've got is a 6 wound hero with a 5 save. It's got a ranged attack, and a melee attack. So it's okay. It's sort of a bit of a mixture of both.
Melee attack's okay as well, like, with the rend and D3 damage, kind of like your typical
very standard. 2-inch reach is not unhelpful either. Like, especially when your models have larger bases, having a 2-inch reach on your melee is way more important.
Yeah, I think it's some of the interesting abilities. So it's got a bounce of spell or endless spell on a 5-up, but like an Archaeonic Gnaw, really, which cool. is unusual and
like a null Sidion icon that you get on a Fire Slayer unit, which is a 4+. So the fact she's got an inherent 5+.
Yeah, cool. It's not game breaking, but it's a nice ability, and it's going to catch someone out at some point, isn't it? Right? Yeah. Oh, I want to kill her. She's got 3 wounds left. No, you don't.
No, and then she's got an ability which is Gory Offering. So if it kills any models in the combat phase, add 1 to attacks of friendly Melusai wholly within 12 until the end of the phase. So it's a little bit janky because you've got to attack with this model first and kill something, then attack with the Melusai to get the benefit if you do it the other way around.
At least they're somewhat survivable, right? They're not single wound, they're not just like 6-up save and that's it or anything. I find it particularly awkward when you have that in armies where it's literally like, I don't know, so like this glass cannon character and then these glass cannon units. It's really awkward because you do this one and then they're all dead and you netted a worse result.
It's it's quite, like I said, Russ, the way it affects is quite good, but it combos nicely if you can pull it off, because if you've got big Morathi fighting as well, then you're getting +1 attack to your snicks. If she kills something, you're getting +1 attack to your snicks. That's +2 attacks to your standard snicks.
Yeah, and then it's also, you've got it does a mortal wound on a 3-up at the end. It's the same rule the snakes get, but obviously it's not as useful on a single character. And a command ability, which is in the hero phase, pick 1 Melusai unit wholly within 12. That unit can run and shoot or charge. In addition, you can roll 2d6 and a d6 when they make the run roll. So that's probably the best ability that this model brings, which allows you to catapult your snakes across the table, because you get a 2d6 run and they get to run and charge. So,
and they can shoot. They can do all of those together, so they can run, shoot, and then charge.
If they've got bows, but I'm not sure you'd be. I believe that unit can run and still shoot and or charge. Yeah, so you can.
Yeah. So I mean, it basically. I wouldn't be thinking about that for the combat potential of the shooting units, but it's another way to get a move right. Mm-hmm. Like that is a rapid turn of doing 3 things at once, really, really quick. So. Just an option.
If you've got a big unit of Bloodstalkers as well, you've got to think like your average range of what they're move 8, they've got a 24-inch range on their bows. If they can run as well, and still shoot, that's going to be, that threat range is then like,
they got mortals as well. So even if you've got modifier, they've got mortals on their bow shots, haven't they?
Yeah. So we might as well talk about it now as we kind of moved on from the Ironscale. The Ironscale's 140 points, I believe, in the new book.
Yeah.
I've got it here actually. I have got it on the screen, but it's not up right now. So let me just double check it.
That movement value, like 24-inch range, is pretty rare as well now. Shooting has been brought down in terms of average range, at least for unit shots within the game. Like you don't find many units with everyone. It's like the champion or a special weapon. But having a load of people that can move 8 inches normally and then shoot, but could also run 2d6, move 8 and then shoot it's pretty much impossible to get away from that range. And now that you've got mortals on it, even if someone's got lookout, so if you need something dead, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and it's quite good because it's in the hero phase you do it, so you get to do it, and then it's not like when you make the run roll, so you can be quite far away and sort of power the unit up, and they can like catapult forward and you can stay back. So, yeah, pretty cool. Bloodstalkers got a little bit of a change, which is so extra shot on the bow, so 2 shots now.
Yep. Threes and threes, rend 1, damage 1. That's consistent. I've already made the Stormcast comparison, and Ben Sava made this on Dan's show that I listened to the other day. There aren't many units that get a profile like that, just as a standard unit.
Yeah, I mean, 3 frees, rend 1 is good, and to have multiple attacks of that at range is better. They're basically, the output there is very good. If you had 5 of them, that's 10 shots. It's like 10 Judicators effectively without the Skybolt bow, because I think they're 1-shot freeze, rend 1, damage 1, 24-inch range. So they also have an ability that if you roll a 6 to hit unmodified, it does a mortal wound, which is what they had before, but the old rule said in the shooting phase.
Nice.
Which is quite key, because Morathi can let them shoot in the hero phase.
Oh, nice.
With the command ability.
Yeah.
What is a bloodworm, though? More importantly.
Well, it's what they've got that little weird thing, haven't they? Like the Kakar bit that they've got.
Sweet, so your shooting unit gets one awful attack.
Well, it used to. The crone used to get +1 to hit, but they've taken that off. So
no, you got a little worm now, and it's got
1 attack, freeze and freeze. Yeah, but you if you're catapulting them into combat with running charge Byron, that's 1 extra attack.
That is. I shouldn't make light of a bloodworm.
Don't, because you don't want a bloodworm to the face.
Yeah,
It's going to be that thing where in the game where the bloodworm kills something. Yeah, no one expects.
Oh, it's like the nurgling from the little nurgling with the sword from the Great Unclean One, and it was that particular dude who did the last wound.
Always. So he's geared up, mate. He was geared for battle.
Yeah, I like this because the daughters, they've either got to get there in combat or they've just got to stand around in their pants prepping and buffing, speaking. And so having a unit that is worth it. They've always had this unit with a long range, but they've just got twice as many shots, which is a big deal, and ability to let them shoot in multiple turns. Being able to reach out and affect someone in their deployment zone, that's pretty much the only remaining weakness of the army. Obviously, they've fallen in power level since the game's power levels have risen with recent releases as a whole, but that's basically their weakness plugged, right? It's like they were weak against shooting, which can sort out with another temple, and then they couldn't reach out and touch their opponents particularly well, which these do fairly nicely. I always
found it unusual because they've in the book there's stuff like you've got your warlocks, your Khinerai, I'll get the life takers, and your stalkers that have all got ranged weapons and abilities to teleport around with one of the formations as well. I can't remember the name of it, but
Shadow Pact or something
like that. And then obviously the Khinerai can drop from the Blood Coven Cauldron Pact. Some of the Khinerai can drop from the sky. So they've always had this long range, but it's always been not that effective. And I think the Bloodstalkers, the thing you were they're quite expensive and they're 1 shot, and then you don't get to do that mortal wound ability when you attack in the hero phase. And so there was all these they always felt a little bit I'll just have more witches.
Yeah, an excuse to not use them.
That's the thing, right? It's just you'd always used to look at it and go, to make this unit viable with 1 shot, you need to have 10 of them. And then you go, well, I may as well have that many witch elves instead.
Yeah, I may as well have 30 witch elves.
The screen that I'm going to shoot the characters behind will be dead by those witch elves. So
and I'd have some models in their deployment zone.
I'm just going to roll my blender across the table and it will get to the heroes eventually, right? So I mean, it is good. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Melusai, so I think it's cool that you can lean into that and not touch the other models if you don't want to, because I don't particularly like the Daughters of Khaine normal troops. I do like
the snakes are standout strong models, and if you've got Morathi, which I guess you are going to have, they just follow the aesthetic so perfectly, don't they? 5 or 10s, Russ, or some funky number I haven't even considered. How would you take them?
It's difficult. I think Battle Shock's a thing. I know they're quite high bravery. I think normally the Bowman's probably in 5, and then probably the combat in 10s plus. So I mean, depends on your list really. And all I've done is I've built 10 of each, and I've got Shadow and Pain now, so I've got another 10. So I'll probably build another 10 combat. So I've got 20 combat and 10 bow, and then I've got a cauldron because I bought the Start Collecting, which is the 5 Melusai in a cauldron, so that'll be a Bloodrack Shrine. Then I've got the Ironscale. I'll do one more box of Khinerai, so I've got 2 units of Khinerai, and then Morathi, and that'll be all our paint, probably. Plus the hags, obviously.
Oh, yeah. She takes up so many more points now.
But the hags, well, she's only 20 points more, Morathi. She was 580 before, she's 600 now,
she?
so yeah. She's so much better as well, like so much better.
Yeah, she is. And she needed help.
Yeah. Well,
she was rubbish, wasn't she?
Well, there was always that thing in Daughters where people were like, oh, she's a lot of points, do I take her? But you take her because she is guaranteed, pretty much, although there was some stuff that got around it, not anymore, to be alive. So you're like, Morathi is like this thing that nothing else in the game does, truly unique. So you take it every time because...
Yeah.
But now she's better at that and better.
Yeah.
So you do. I think 100% always take
You get
Morathi.
2 models. Like, the moment you rock up to a hero mission and you stand in 2 places at once. Like,
Heroes that guaranteed to live for 4 turns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Because it's not even like when she was little and you could do 3 wounds when she goes big. That's 6 wounds. That's gone. Like, you can't do wounds out of the phase with endless spells. That's gone. You can't instant kill her anymore. That's gone. So it's like, she's basically just got probably 3 times better and cost 20 more points.
She's as close to mandatory as any high-pointed character in the entire game that I can think of. Like, more so than Teclis. I'm not saying you have to take her and you can write good lists without her, but she is such a good value proposition. You have to write an argument to not take her, which I don't think you could say for Teclis or other people like that. She is just a beast.
And also the buffs to Little Morathi, it also makes your spellcaster more reliable, right? Because before it was a case of you just try and get off Mind Razor on that key turn, and then the rest of it was prayers. Whereas the buff to Little Morathi now means that, because she got the option to cast twice, hasn't she? I can't remember.
3 times, I think.
Yeah.
So like,
I think it's
she used
concerning
to be
how
3
good
times.
she is.
But we cover it in the Morathi show, but just to reiterate, she's great.
Cover it.
So if you want to check out and you haven't got Broken Realms Morathi, then go to our rules video and you can skip to the section where we go through the Daughters of Khaine stuff, and you can see the WARSCROLL there, and we talk about it in more detail. But we'll move on to more snacks.
Combat snacks.
The Blood Sisters. I always get these 2 mixed up because I always think the Sisters are the ones with the bows and the Stalkers are the ones that. But obviously, these are the combat snacks.
More like, so you'd assume the Sisters would be the ones that don't look so monstrous, and the Stalkers would be more monstrous looking. That's how I've always looked at it.
I've built all mine to look monstrous. I've used the Gorgon head on all of them because I think it looks cool.
Is that also because you don't want to paint their faces, or is it just because it looks that much cooler?
I just think it looks better. I just think if you're doing a snake army, so I'm going to use the I'm going to get this wrong now, but the Warcry Warband snake ones, which I think's the, I can't remember what they're called now, it escapes me. But anyway, there's a character in there with like a snake coming out of his hand, and it's got a hood on. Yeah. So I'm going to use that as a hag, and I've got.
Oh, sweet.
And I'm going to use the kind of
you've got, like,
guards.
Snake bits that come with it, right?
Yeah, you get little snake swarm and things like that. But the actual guys that have got like the scaled skin, and they've got like the almost the Roman Greek style helmets and stuff like that. So they're going to be my shrine guard for the cauldron and stuff like that. So I want mine to look like a cult of the snake, almost like not a cult of Khaine, but more like a cult of Morathi.
Yeah,
because like
that's cool.
It's just in my head. I just think it's more the aesthetic I want.
Is there anything you could do with using the Morathi without the wings?
Oh no, you got to put the wings on. Look cool.
No, not for Morathi, but is there anything you can do conversion wise for a Bloodrat shrine or anything like that, where you just made a massive? Because I love the idea. You've already got pretty much exactly the same model, just plus sized, haven't you? I've always thought it's like a missed opportunity there. You can make something look so evil, and it would be fine without the wings, and it's just the same model, exactly larger.
I mean, you could if you really wanted to, because in the background, the big cauldron, the mother cauldron, or whatever it's called, that gets destroyed, where she comes out of, you could actually have that as your cauldron, and then you could have her detachable. Yeah. So when you played the game, you just lift her off, and then. But that's an idea.
I'd be trying to source some more of those swarms and then fill in the blood of the cauldron with just those swarms.
Oh, that'd be
So
cool.
it looks
Yeah,
like you've got, instead of it being blood in there, you just fill it with snakes.
I'll put a rubber duck in it, but each their own.
Indiana Jones, like anti-army.
Yeah,
Like,
mate. That'd be.
but anyway, Blood Sisters. So they've got they're basically the same apart from their turn to crystal rule, which they used to have an attack for their kind of petrifying attack, which had a reach and then you roll a dice and you do a mortal. Now it's got a lot better. It sounds like it's worse, but actually I think it's better because it works a little bit like the evocators.
Oh, that's disgusting. I've just read it properly.
So you only need one model within 1 inch.
Oh,
And then
they
the
got rid of stuff
the
like
entire
that.
unit can hit it with its turn to crystal attack. So if you've got 20 of them and you've got a character within 1 inch, you could roll 20 dice and do all the mortals to that character because it's you pick a mod enemy unit within one of this unit and roll a dice for each model in this unit. So it allows you to snipe stuff if you're clever with your pile-ins.
That's insanely reliable. That's ridiculous.
There was a lot of talk online before this scroll was released about being able to use Morathi, because you know that they used the Warcom site did the article about buffing attacks, so everyone was like, "Oh my god, that means that the crystalline touch gets buffed," because on the old scroll,
it was an attack.
It was an attack characteristic. So it's not. So it's quite
That's why it looks worse because you can't buff it a number of attacks, but actually it's better because now you can like put the entire units into one thing.
Stuff.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at that instantly, I just wonder what happens if you took Morathi and then like as many tens of snakes.
No, literally, the army would be Morathi,
nothing else.
The Melusai Ironscale. You need a blood rat reducer to make them battle line, and then you just take loads of snakes in a formation.
I think Chewie sent me a list, which was Morathi, the Ironscale, Blood Rat Shrine, 10, 10, 5, and Morathi in the Vampiric Guard. And that's 2,000 on the nose. So.
Yeah, I think there's a couple lists. I haven't written any for this show because the WARSCROLL builder doesn't have the new points. The pitch battle profile looks a little bit wrong in places, so I just haven't had time to sit down and write a list. I just thought
coming soon.
I'm just building the models and painting, and I'm sure I'll get to use a combination.
Well, Russell, you've got an agenda to writing some lists in the future, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've got better in worse, but probably better in the long run because you get the buff.
Definitely.
Because of the character. It unlocks more of them, getting run and charge 2d6 run, getting the ability to get extra attacks because you've killed something, and their turn to crystal ability allows them to drop a unit's attacks into one model, means that you can snipe big characters with it. Even if you had you fought against Nagash or something like that, it is at the end of the combat phase. You do have to survive, but it's still pretty good, and it's on a 3+, which is super reliable for that.
It really is.
Yeah,
I mean, just the fact that you get a go at that in your turn and your opponent's turn as well is stuff like that really, really adds up. That's probably one of the better things I hadn't noticed about these changes. Yeah,
so super good. So Khinerai Heart Renders have got a little bit of a change as well. So effectively what's changed on these guys, I believe it is just the death from above ability. There used to be a rend of 2, whereas now they've said you increase the rend by 1, so effectively it is rend 2, but it's just a different way of wording. And the main change really is descend to battle, because it says that instead of setting them on the battlefield, you put them up high. But if in before, they could come down any time and you didn't matter, but now if you don't come by the start of the 4th turn, they're destroyed. So you've got to be on the table by the end of turn 3.
That's quite a big difference, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean,
they were a very cheap, flexible threat.
Not that many people were patient with these sort of... I always think that when you're patient with these Alpha Strike units, or with Flesh Eaters coming on from the back, or your Soul Squire, or whatever you've got that can do it, the more patient you are, I think the more of an issue it becomes for your opponent.
Oh, 100%.
When you just
they don't know what you're going to do.
Blurge it on turn 1, then they can suddenly go into normal game plan because there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So for objective capture, they've always been amazing, Khinerai. So yeah, slight change on those. So we also got the new Slaanesh hero, the Lord of Pain. So that's past the Daughter stuff now. So they do have formations in the book, but I haven't covered those because they're not that exciting. It's basically what's in the box with an ability, so it's not really worth talking about.
The standard stuff that they do, don't they? Where it's like, this is how you play with these against your opponent.
Yeah, so I think Slaanesh get like immune to battle shock, and the other snake guys get reroll ones on save or something like that. So
yeah.
So you've got the Lord of Pain. So Soul Piercer mace with a 2-inch reach, 5 attacks, freeze, run 1, damage 2. So that's quite a lot of damage for a foot hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, that's a brilliant profile to put any extra items or command traits on that make him more hitty. Right.
Yeah. He's actually like got a weapon that's worth taking a magic weapon with. Right. It's kind of
Yeah.
He's got the ability to share the pain. Roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound. On a 5-up, the wound or mortal wound is negated. In addition, if a wound or mortal wound is negated by this ability in the combat phase, the attacking unit takes the mortal wound after all of his attacks. So he's got a bounce back. So he's like,
that's cool.
I quite like that.
That's cool.
He's got the
cool model. Cool.
The model's amazing. I love it so much. In the Paragon of Depravity, which is you can use the command ability in the combat phase, pick one Hedonite mortal unit wholly within 12, reroll hit rolls. So Hedonite mortal is kind of the Slaanesh stuff that's in the Hedonites book, the mortal stuff, so I think it's Hellstriders.
Hellstriders, yeah.
Is that the word?
I did check. I think Archeon is a Hedonite now due to slaves and is also mortal, so if you had him in a Slaanesh army, you could use it on him.
Yeah, so pretty good buff to Archeon if you've got him. So
it's really good. Obviously, notably, you're going to be running this guy pretty fast on his little legs if he's keeping up with either of those units, because it's done within the combat phase.
Yeah.
Definitely worth noting, though, it does not say it's just reroll hit rolls. So if you have anything that fishes, which they probably do, I guess, you can reroll rolls that were successful if you're looking for 6s.
Oh, yeah. So I think Archeon's destroyers on the wound roll. So, but yeah. The Lord of Pain is 120 points, according to the booklet in here.
How do you feel about that? Just fairly solid?
He's got
a really big deal for 120 points.
I mean, 5 wounds, 4-up save. It doesn't sound that survivable because he's got the 5-up bounce. Then he's got 5 attacks, freeze, rend 1, damage 2. That's quite good. Like, honestly, the
extra rend on him would be an amazing, or any type of reliance buff. You could just send him into an infantry unit and he'd blend it.
I mean, he could, because he's got a 2-inch reach, he could stand behind something.
Yep.
It's when you compare him to like a Stormcast character, because that's how I like judge everything. You know, he's like with the 5 attacks and the damage 2. I think that's what really sells him. You know, he's pretty fast. He's move 6. So he's quite fast. His armor save could be. I mean, he's not got a lot of armor, so 4+ seems about right. But yeah, I think for 120. I don't know how he would fit in a Slaanesh army. You know, what you'd have to give up to put him in, but looking at him in isolation against different characters in the game, he does seem to be pretty.
Reroll hits is powerful as well. That's that's solid, right?
I think like there's you look at him and go, it's a bit of a shame because obviously like stuff like Chaos Warriors or Chaos Knights don't have Hedonite as a keyword. They have Slaanesh as a keyword, so it doesn't really key off them. So I don't know. It doesn't seem as impactful as the Melusai character, but by no means does that make him a bad hero. Like, is basically what I'm trying to say. I don't know how much you'll see him on the table in competitive lists, but I think he would go into. I think he might be a better hero to you than in like smaller point games.
Oh, it'd be really good,
just because I think the damage output's so good, and that 5-up ignore is solid. You know.
That's one of the things that mounts up. If you send him into a 10 block, for example, and he attacks first, and then they attack back, and he saves a couple, and they lose a couple more, it's very easy to send a model like that into 10 skeletons, kill, like 5 of them, or something like that, and then 2 more die when they hit you back. It's really, really pretty cool.
Yeah, so he's pretty cool. I mean, the model's baller, so I'm hoping we'll see some at painting competitions. I'm sure it will be a popular single character entry.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one. I couldn't justify buying the box just for that model to paint, so I am looking forward to getting my hands on it just to paint.
He's cool enough that if people aren't taking him as him, he's going to be coming as a champion to a unit near you very soon, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Tractors next.
Well, I don't. The Hellflower, I don't think anything's changed, so I'm just going to skip over that. I'm not really.
Tractors next.
The thing is, if you want to build one, you can do whatever it wants because.
We've all been there.
Win the game
I've got a box. I got a box full of them from when I did the Start Collecting Slaanesh thing. They could still in the box. I looked at the wheels and was like, no, doesn't matter. It could be the best thing in the world. Still not building it.
Yeah.
So sorry. So if you think they're great or there's some change we've missed, put it in the comments and see if we can read it.
Yeah.
So Hellstriders with Hell Scourges and Claw Spears. So slight change here. They've got 2 new abilities. So they used to have an ability where they got an extra attack, I believe, when they killed something or they took
a bit awkward.
It was a bit janky, but now they've got a different ability depending on the unit. So the Hellstriders with Claw Spears have got Piercing Strike, so add 1 to damage when they make a charge move. So they can damage 2.
Cool.
And the Hell Scourges, quite interested in this. In the combat phase, if the unit made a charge move, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy models within 3.
Ooh. It's not against that unit.
I know that target this unit, yeah. So they have to hit them. But what that makes them quite good is they're quite good at, like, normally your Hellstriders, they're only really fighting other people's, like, chaffy units.
And they just die.
And, like, getting an extra -1
big deal.
Is quite a big deal.
Something that makes a 4+ save and 2 wounds look way, way, way better, right?
Yeah. So I still think you probably run the... It depends as well, like, because in Slaanesh you're probably going first, because you've made them go last, so you can activate these guys first or not, I don't know. But maybe. I mean, it's interesting. I think now at least they come into the conversation of, do I take a Hell Scourge? Because before you just always took the spear. Because they have the rend, basically.
Role, doesn't it?
They've got really good command as well, just like scooting through what they've got in that unit. Some units just win on what they get, like reroll charges innately. That's great. Mm-hmm. That's really good.
Yeah, I think it's good as well, because the Hellstriders have got 2 attacks with the Hell Scourge, then they're effectively like damage 2, right?
Yeah.
They just don't have the rend.
Yeah.
And the Claw Spears only get damage 2 on the charge. So, I don't know. I think they kind of... You would consider either. Like now, I think there's a conversation. Yeah. I think before you just took Claw Spears. I know I did when I it's been a while since I looked at Slaanesh, like 18 months plus, but when I took them to ETC, the Claw Spears was just the obvious choice. So
it's also cool. 14-inch move, not awful attack like cavalry, which now debuffs people. If you take this Hell Scourges option, is amazing.
Yeah, and Demonettes are pretty much Demonettes, so they've not really changed. And there's the pitch battle profiles in there, which we've got to cover the points and that. I think they're 100 points, the Hellstriders, so that's the same. So, yeah, that's basically everything from the Shadow and Pain. So that's all the War Scrolls. Quite interesting. I think obviously Daughters come out of that probably the more... with the better changes.
That book's been blown wide open. This hasn't like reinvented an entire battle tome for Slaanesh, but in terms of what you can do with Daughters, you can now throw away the other bit of the book and still have a viable army. Which is awesome.
It was amazing on the weekend of release when this came out. There was just like every single tweet that I saw on Twitter was, does someone want to split the Shadow and Pain box because they want the snakes?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, I'm after, like,
So there's going to be some very cheap Slaanesh armies out there.
Yeah. I think there was like a lot of people that were after it. I think like I saw Ben Curry tweet and like Joe Prasad commented going like, you and everyone else, mate, because he was like, because he was after it all. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think the good thing about what it's done to the Daughters of Khaine book is that it's made, like, that doesn't make, like, Daughters worse to make the other thing attractive. It makes the other thing good to make it attractive, which is a bit what they did with the Broken Realm Morathi Idoneth changes. It made the other stuff more attractive rather than just go, well, let's just make Eels worse. So we'll see like, the other stuff. It's better. Let's make those better, which I like that kind of approach. For that. And I like
the Morathi book was all about giving, wasn't it? There was no like, it felt like every single thing got a buff. There was no that's shit. It was all everything buffed with the rules in that book, which I thought was really, really good.
Yeah, we've had quite a few comments about some of the stuff about the allegiances and some rules questions about the Stormkeeps and like the idolaters and things like that. So I what I'll do is I'll collect that up and I'll send it in to the FAQ email just so they can, because some of that stuff might be covered. But yeah, I do appreciate that there's a lot of people commenting on the rules in the comments, but we haven't responded because we're not sure ourselves. But it's
cheers guys, just give it 2 weeks and then we can
some month now.
So
month for
it's 4 week now for the FAQ release due to the sort of the less games being played.
Sure.
I think what I was saying is what's good about these sets is they release a hero that dramatically kind of changes a battle tome or opens up some options. Obviously, the A for
Battle
War...
Line If's powerful, right?
Yeah. I mean, not that there's anything in this book, but it's the A for War was quite good because it gave you the Kharadron hero that gave you that of Battle Line If he was the general, but also he's a good hero anyway. Like that kind of like non-special character engine rigger with his bubble pack. And then you got the Magister for the Zinch, which obviously feels a bit like the Lord of Pain. Didn't really, it's like, okay, but it's just a hero. But it's, I think at least the Lord of Pain in a Hedonite army feels like he does something that there isn't another alternative like that. They don't really have a tanky hero like that that does damage in combat. I mean, the Mask you could kind of argue, but I think he does add something.
More about not taking damage.
They don't have a conventional tank
stuff. Yeah.
I could imagine he could be quite a good in the hero capture missions because you're trying to focus him to do damage, but he's bouncing the damage back to you, and he hits quite hard, and he's got reach, so you can bunker him, but he can still enact over the top. So he might be pretty good, and he can also buff your cavalry. Like if you've got Hellstriders, he can make them reroll to hit. So, could be useful. But I think it's a fairly interesting box for some of the changes.
Yeah, it's cool. I quite like. Again, I like you said, it's about like everything got the buff, and the Lord of Pain maybe not be a game changer like the Melusai is, but overall, I think the box is pretty cool. I like it a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, so I'm planning to write some Melusai based armies, and then when I've got one of those, I'll share a list. But I think what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, come back, and I'll share an Idoneth army that I've written using the new scrolls and just talk about that.
Cool.
Sweet. Shots.
Back in a sec. And we are back from the break. I need to change my window that I've got up because I forgot to change it.
Quick, say something entertaining.
I'm done there. So
okay.
I've written an Idoneth army based around the mount traits and the changes to Idoneth from Broken Realms Morathi. So if you want to check what those are in detail, then go check our video out, and it's bookmarked, so you can just jump to the point to understand that. But obviously, we'll cover some of it here, and we'll talk about this list. So the list is a Idoneth Deepkin, obviously. I've gone for Dom Hain as my enclave.
Yeah. That's reroll ones on charge, right? And reroll wounds with mounts.
Yeah. I did if you're against a monster, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't played Dom Hain for ages, but that's the one I used to play back in the day when it was just all eels in the storm. Reroll ones on charges, and I believe the mounts get to reroll wound rolls if they. I think it's just if they.
Against monsters,
the mounts just get to reroll against monsters. Double check it, but
yeah.
Sorry.
So if it's
really
a
good
monster,
TV.
so reroll failed wound rolls against a monster if they've got the Akhelian keyword, and in combat phase, reroll hit rolls of 1 for Akhelian and Dom Hain Morathi units that made a charge move. So if they charge, they get reroll hit rolls of 1, and if they're fighting a monster, the mounts.
Wounds.
No, just units. So reroll wound rolls for Dom Hain Akhelian units. So the Futan ones, the Futan was the other one I was looking at. You have to excuse my lack of knowledge on these because it's not something I play with a lot. So with Futan, they get to reroll wound rolls of 1 for the mounts. That's why I was getting confused. But I went for Dom Hain because I just think it's probably a little bit more reliable, especially if there's a lot of monsters around at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're comboing it with the... oh, no, you haven't got it. Ignore me.
No, the Eidolon only affects Morathi anyway. It doesn't affect Akhelian.
Yeah.
So is the reason there is no Eidolon in this list.
I was just gonna ask, yeah.
I had an Eidolon in the list.
I was just looking at it. I was like, yeah.
And I ran out of points. And I was like, I don't have enough stuff. So I need to drop the Eidolon. So the Eidolon effectively is the Soul Squire and 2 extra sharks. So you can do it, but I didn't think it was that good of a change. So you can modify as you see fit.
I think you need the sharks at the moment just because of how good they are with that piling ability, I think. So
yeah, and like I've got the idea to do an Morathi based army, and then I think the Eidolon will be in that list if you've got Morathi. But if you don't have Morathi, then the aspect of the storm kind of doesn't seem as important. So obviously you've got to take the Akhelian King because he makes the Eels battle line. So he's almost pointed for that, I think, looking at what he actually does. Now, with the trait, I went for Lord of Storm and Sea, which is +2 bravery within 12, just because I think you need it to mitigate some of that. And now he's got the mount trait Void Chill Darkness, which is a -1 to hit if you're within 3 of him. And I've given him the artifact, which is also -1 to hit, which is the armor of the sci-fi. So if you hit him, you're -2. If you're within 3, you're -1, depending if you're not hitting him, if you hit something else.
Is one of those in total, and is one of those in combat, or...?
They're both combat-based things. So one is if you're within 3, one of them is you're hitting him in combat.
Cool, got you.
So basically, the idea is he would go in with an eel unit, and if you hit the eels, you're -1, and if you hit him, you're -2. So you want to get rid of him because you're like, I need to get rid of him. But if you hit him, then he's really hard to hit. So you go, I hit the eels, but you're still at -1 because you're within 3. Which is
you're going to need to hit him with mortals to do anything, aren't you? -2 is a big deal.
So there are other options. There's lots of different things you could do. That was the immediate thing that jumped into my head. Then I've got the Soul Squire for obvious reasons. So you can put units off the table and you get the plus to charge. It's a no-brainer. Because if you
put an artifact on the Soul Squire, or did you not?
I can, and I didn't, and I don't know why I didn't, but I could do because I forgot I've got
Cloak
formation.
of Midnight, right? It's whatever. Is this that cloak of light? Or do you have to target him? Yeah.
So
Can't remember what it's called.
It's the cloud of midnight, I think it is.
Cloud of mist and shadows, or something like that. Yeah, we know what it is. It's the switch off the phase cloak.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't. The Soul Squire is kind of like whatever, can have anything, doesn't matter. Then I basically got 2 units of 6. They should be. Oh no, I've got 6 Ishian. Okay, so I've got 6 Morsar, which are the explodey ones, and I've got 6 tanky ones, and another unit of 3 tanky ones. Then I've got 2 units of 2 Alapexes and Leviathan with the ancient trait, which has reduced the rend by 1.
Yeah.
And they're in the Akhelian Corps, so basically it's a 3-drop army.
That's cool. With like 23 models or something. I love the idea of having that few miniatures to move around. Yeah,
I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice to find the 60 points to upgrade the Ishlin to another unit of Morsar, but it's just a bit tight. I mean, you could drop an.
They're underrated as well.
Yeah, I don't think they're as bad as people think. I think
no, they're not as sexy, but that doesn't make them bad as a unit, and they blend crap as well. If you put them into something that isn't particularly resilient, they output so many average attacks.
I think,
and with the reroll ones with the Dom Hain, I think they're quite viable. In this.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I think for me, like the reason I quite like them is if you've got the king with those 6, right? They're super tanky.
Yeah, they are.
Especially if you've got the turtle near them. And a lot of missions, you win the missions by holding objectives.
Yeah.
So, like, the combat eels are really good to, like, jump in and, like, slap something, but they die very easily. So, the idea of this was, like, to have a unit which is survivable, fast, so get to the objective, it can sit on the objective and hold. They have to get you off the objective, and your combat eels are, like, your follow-up unit that come on later. So you can hold them off the table until you need them, and they're fast enough to put them on wherever you want, or you can have them on the table and they're fast enough to go wherever they want, really.
14 inches re-roll charges, isn't it? Or like they're pretty reliable.
I think as well, comboed up with the Alapexes is that you can really mitigate the amount of damage coming back at those 6
pile-ins.
I think in the old days the 6 would go down quite quickly, but I think now with clever play and being maneuverable, you can essentially limit the amount of attacks coming back at those guys. And the Alapexes as well double up as a combat threat, as well as the Leviathan, because the Leviathan's also quite punchy. That's quite handy.
And it gets a reroll as well. Like for the formation, you get 1 reroll for a unit per turn.
Oh, that's really good.
So it's okay. So there's different artifacts you can go for. So there is. I'm just having a quick look now. So the Ishran have something called a Mind Flare. So once per battle, start the combat phase, pick an enemy unit within 3, subtract 1 from hit rolls from that unit until the end of the combat phase.
Yeah.
So you could even do that.
Get yourself.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some other options. I haven't looked through them.
Because the defensive eels get a defensive buff on turns they haven't charged or have charged.
Have charged, I believe.
Have charged, so
on a save.
You could be patient with that ability. They've got 1 more save. Someone's at -1 anyway, and then the next turn you pop that.
So it's the Akhelian Ishlian Guard get Ignore Rend for attacks when making save rolls for this unit. In addition, this unit has a save characteristic of 3 instead of 4 if it made a charge. They're always Ignore Rend, but they're free up save on the charge.
Yeah, so you can just weather that, be patient on your ability, save it, and then you've got a couple of extremely resilient turns there, even without your being involved. I also really like a heavy hitting or resilient cavalry running around with a character next to it. It's just so much more effective in multiple ways. The ability to spend command points or just back it with a bit more damage or put things awkwardly around each other.
Yeah, but I think it allows you to set up. If you went, let's say for example, you went for that artifact, which is the extra -1 with the Soul Scryer, you could set up this king, the Soul Scryer, and the 6 defensive on an objective, and be like, "Come and charge me." And then you could, if the turtle's in range, you've got the +1 save, you've got the, you're already like going, well, actually, this army is super resilient, and you're going to be -3 to hit or -2 to hit.
What's the wording on the defensive eels? Can they get the buff from the turtle, or is it do not increase? I can't remember how the wording on there.
Yes, they can.
They can. Yeah. So that's
so they're a 2-up save on the charge, 3-up normally. In the first battle round, they're a 2-up save because they got cover, and the new turtle says +1 to your save, not cover. And in the first battle round, because of the tides, you count as being in cover. So if you charge on turn 1 with them and they're in range of the turtle, they've got a 1-up save. So ignoring Rend,
right.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
that'll do.
That'll do.
I was just double checking. I can't remember the wording of it all, but I think the turtle and the shanks, the buffs from them really allow you to be a bit more. You can be aggressive with those guys now because it's like they're always going to be on a 2-up save if they're in range of the turtle, right? You just make sure that the turtle's behind them because
you might literally win games on Conga bubble wrapping someone and just go, well, that's 2 turns of the game that I'm being awkward. I've barely got anything left.
It's kind of a little bit like the Rogue Idol thing that you do, where you go, I'll pin them with the defensive eels and the king, and then the other stuff will sit on the objectives, and I'll win
exactly
on that.
Yeah.
And I even like the 4 sharks, they're actually quite good. Like in combat, they're quite nasty. They're quite good, and the turtle's no slouch in combat. I mean, I think it's really good. I played against it a couple of times before it got changed, and the amount of times you're like, oh, it's just a turtle, no one takes that. And then he goes into it, and then it's like, it does what? 6 mortal wounds? What does what? You're like, what does it do? So I know, like people are like, oh, I just take the spear eels, but they rely on the charge to do the damage. And I think the Ishlian are, I think they're undersung. I think they're undersung a lot. And they're a lot cheaper. I mean, like, they are a lot cheaper. So it allowed me to get a more rounded list, basically.
Yeah, they're a different style of play. When I've played with combat like the Morsar and the Ishlian, I've always found the Ishlian very lackluster because I'm comparing them to the damage output of the Morsar. That's, I think, the difference is, especially if you're used to playing with Morsar, you look at them and just go, why would I take them? They're just not as good. But then they perform a completely different battlefield role, and that's one of the things that when I've not used them, like Morsar eels, they've been really good, to clear up units off objectives, to hold things, to be a screen, to do, to be there. It's just understanding that they are not your combat part of the unit, the army. And
3 or 4 of them stick around for so long.
Yeah, it's obvious when you look at it and you think about it, but in the game, when you're playing it, you're like, oh, just chuck those, go in that corner and kill those 10 guys. And like sometimes they'll blend them, and then other times they'll whiff, and you'll be like, they're not very good. I wish I had I wish I had the zaps. And then like against them as well, I found them really, really good. Like I can remember playing against a guy at one of the heats with a Stormcast army and putting in, I think it was 20 Secretors into a unit of them, and then just them not dying. And I was just like, wow, that never happened. I was expecting, because I think I had like eight of the big maces, and I was just like, all I need to do is get a couple of these through. And it was just one of those combinations where the guy had it just had a really good dice roll, and you never know with those things because of the ignore rend.
Them wearing it,
you can buff the ignore rend as well, is really good.
They're disgusting with a triumph. A command ability for reroll 1s to save as well, right? Like that is generally speaking, that isn't great apart from on characters, because units don't have a save this good. So when you got a save this good, like, you got rend 1, don't worry, I've got a 1-up save and I'm re-rolling 1s anyway. I'm expecting to take approximately 0 wounds against anything, unless it's got 2 rend or more and a lot of high quality attacks. Brilliant.
Yeah,
you're not going to lose an eel.
No, exactly. And you get obviously you got the command ability from the king for the +1 attack, so he can still buff the Morsar when they go in. Yeah. So the way in my head is the Ishlian and the king are like a defensive unit, and the Morsar come in once they've hit the anvil. There's the hammer, then he can buff them as they come in, and then you get all that extra rend and damage on the charge, and then you've got the zap if you need it. And
you can also buff like the bites on the sharks with him, can't you, as well? If you need to, if that turn and your Morsar have like been tied up somewhere else on the battlefield, you buff the sharks. And
can you buff the sharks? I just quickly, because I couldn't remember what his ability was.
I believe so.
So I wasn't.
I think it's pick a unit wholly within.
Idoneth Deepkin, wholly within 12, add 1 to attack. So of melee weapons. So it would affect the sharks as well.
Yeah.
You haven't got a bad prospect in that entire army for being buffed by that, right?
No, and I believe the sharks they've got less combat profiles now, but the bites are 3 attacks, freeze, rend 2, damage 2. So
yeah, mate. Even the Leviathan, if you're buffing that Leviathan with a scythed fin with 4 attacks, 2s, 3s, rend 1, damage 4.
Yeah,
it's
I did think the Alapexes, because the damage output on them is very good as well. I just don't think you need to lean into the Morsar as much as you used to.
No. And people will be more surprised by them as well, right? That's a factor. People know what eels do. Yeah. Eels go in and you have the option for a zap, and then they do this. But sharks at long range, stopping people from piling in with their crappy shooting attack, and then it really mattering, and then hitting someone on a flank and just destroying them and taking like literally 0 wounds back or something. That's painful.
Well, yeah, and it's going to be like the person's going to be you're playing as well. I'll be like, right, well, I'm going to deal with these Morrsarr Eel because they're the thing that's going to get buffed with the command ability turn. Like, is it High Tide? You can only do it turn 3, can't you? The King, same as Voltonus.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only High Tide. So they're going to be like turn 3. He's going to buff his command. He's going to buff the eels because they're going to bump out loads of attacks. And then you don't buff the eels. You buff the sharks, and they put out a reasonable bit of damage as well. I think it's quite nice. I think it's, again, maybe it's not the most competitive list. I think probably MSU Eels with Voltonus is probably maybe the best, but it's still, I think, the opportunity to it shows there are other lists available that you could play.
Certain missions as well.
I think
certain missions that list to be legit in as well, but the Eels list just doesn't have the option unless you dilute it. And the moment you dilute that Eels list to be anything other than maximum Eels and minimum other, it really loses a lot of its power.
It's kind of why I wrote this list how I did, because I thought there's some missions you need battle lines, some you need monsters, some you need heroes. A lot of Deepkin Army only have one hero, and like you go, or they have like one in the Tidecaster. So I did really want the Eidolon, if I'm honest.
Skyfire's all over again, isn't it? Like that type of list.
Yeah, but I think, I mean, you can get it in, but you have to lose like 2 sharks and the Soul Scryer. It's quite a big tax.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you don't want to paint more models, then that's a great route to get done.
I mean, I think looking at that list as well, it's going to be a little bit more forgiving of a double turn when you're playing MSU Eels or like all of Eels. All it takes is bad positional play on your part, and then you to get doubled, and then your arm is gone. As somebody who's played that a lot, like when we went to Six Nations, not this year because it got cancelled the year before. I took an entirely Eel list, and it was just so it like crumbled so much to get
a couple of 5s or 6s on Battle Shocks, dude. You know what that feels like with an elite army. You're just like, oh dear, that's 120 points.
It was very difficult. Whereas I think that army that you've got there is probably because you've got the Leviathan buffing the Ishlan, it's not going to be as sort of like susceptible to getting sort of like rolled on a double turn because you've got like the really bunker, like the tough units. So I think that's quite good. It's a little bit more, a little bit more resilient than, say, you can have it in the middle of the army, in the middle of the table and go, right, well, I've screened the turtle. They're at a 3-up, ignore rend. If they come into me and try and get me off these objectives, there is a chance that I'm not going to get rolled. Whereas if you've just got a unit of eels that have already like zapped everything, and then 6 of those eels get charged, anything with rend just goes, you just chip away at them, and like Brian said, battle shocks a big deal. So I think that it's going to be more forgiving if you get like doubled. I think definitely.
I think that's the thing when I've played against the eel lists. I find people charge you with everything too early. They don't. They shoot their load off straight away. They do everything. Like you go in, they charge, the extra damage, they do their blast and all that, and then you go when you charge them, or when they're in a second round of combat, they're actually not very good.
Yeah,
they're actually worse than the Ishlian eels.
Yes, they are,
because the Ishlian get extra attack. So actually, they're actually better in combat if you take away the charge and the mortal wound burst.
Built for the grind.
So for me, it's like I still like the impactful damage and the speed, but I don't think the whole army needs to have it. Especially when you've got the Alapexes and the Leviathan, which are more chompy now. There's rend in there they didn't have before. They do more damage. They're just better, so you can kind of lean on them for your damage.
And everything's fast as well. It all keeps up quite well.
Yeah, and I think we're not saying that all eel lists are bad. Like we are very aware that Morrsarr eels are very, very good. I played 130 games with them. We all know they're good. The only person who I think has played more games with, personally that I know than me with Deepkin is Luke Morton. So we're not saying that this is the new power and Morrsarr eels are done, because the amount of people that I can imagine people are going to comment below and be like, no, I'm just going to take spear eels. We know they're good. We're just trying to.
This is now viable.
Well, this is a list that I wrote for me with the models that I wanted to paint, and the stuff I wanted to try out, and I like to do stuff that isn't. Yeah. I don't like just copying something. So for me, the having Ishlian eels and the Alapexes and all of that is in my head is just something a bit different. And I'll play some games of it, and I might play some games and go, no, it needs to change. This isn't good enough. That needs to change. I could do a unit of thralls. I don't know, whatever. So I don't know. Whether the Soul Squire is actually worth having or not, I don't know. You might just decide, well, actually, that upgrades the Ishlian Guard, like the second unit, to a bigger unit.
Another unit of 3. I think if you're not going all in and trying to make those big charges from the table edge, then like you maybe don't need the Soul Squire. I do think that's all he is there for, right? He's there to deliver a unit because of his +3 to charge rolls. Yeah,
in my head he's there so I can put 6 Morsar and him off the table. My opponent has to worry about it. Whereas if I don't have them if I have them on the table, they're very predictable where they're going to go. Whereas what I can do with him is I can say, well, you can't, and I don't need them on the table to capture the objectives and affect the game.
Well, also in some games you can put 3 Ishlan off the table with him as well. And then that for objective play and stuff. Ishlan are very defensive on the turn that they charge. So if an opponent leaves the backfield open and you've put him off the table with 6 of your Ishlan, they can come and pin a unit whilst you clear up the rest of the army.
Well, that's the idea of the net launchers. So if you hit with a net launcher, they can't pile in. So you go, right, well, you can't pile in, or I think it's a pile in inch, I can't remember, but you go, right, so your piling is basically reduced. I've charged these 3 touching 1 model on the end of a big unit. That big unit isn't going to kill the 3, and in your go you can't move. Unless you want to retreat, and then you can't charge.
More double protection, right? Loads more double protection.
Yeah, so that's why the 3 is in there. I mean, you could split the other 6 into 2 3s as well, so you could have 4 units of 3. 3 units of 3, and then 1 unit of 6 Morsar, but I don't know. Like, in my head, I just quite like a big tanky eel unit.
Yeah.
I was trying to
also,
find...
if you're gonna buff them to Muller crap, then having 6, you get more equity there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you've got a load. I think the 3s are really nice because of the pile-ins and stuff as well. You can be really clever with it. So if you're hitting a unit so they can't pile in, you tag your 6 Morsar on the edge of a unit and your 3 on the other side of the unit, which was in range of a hero. The 6 Morsar wipe that unit. The 3 then get to pile in towards the hero, which it wouldn't have normally been able to reach because it's tagged into the unit and do it that way. Or even if you could do the same with your 6 Ishlan. You put your 6 Ishlan into a unit, tag your Morsar on the end of it. They wipe the unit with the amount of attacks they got. Your 6 Morsar then pile in with a 2-inch reach and hits the other unit out the way. It was always the way I used to get around the Slanesh, sort of like, the getting around. They always strike first bit with the Slanesh. You tag a unit, you wipe the unit, and then the other unit piles in towards the keeper, which isn't at the start of the hero phase because you're outside of its range to activate. You pile in and then kill the keeper outside. That was how I always used to get around the sort of like always strikes first, always strikes last back in the day. And I think there's lots of opportunity to do funky things when you,
especially the harpoon launchers. With those harpoon launchers, you might pile it, like you might have something with a 2-inch reach that goes towards a big monster with a 1-inch reach, end up 1.1 inches away. Like, that's great. That is amazing. You just hit it for free before it can reach you.
Just going to double check that piling rule while we're on air and
piling stuff.
But
there's a lot of stuff.
Tricks.
It cannot pile in. There you go. I knew it was something like that.
Even better.
So
sweet.
Yeah, so
Hello.
it's okay. I think the net launchers are very powerful. I really like the Alapexes. I bought 2 of the boxes, the new boxes where you get a king and two sharks. Obviously, snakes, not snakes.
They're like a bargain, right?
Yeah, like, really good.
Because if it's the king, I'm not sure whether that means you'll have the options for Voltonius.
Yeah,
I believe
same kit.
Yeah. So you just build a king, build Voltonius, get 4 sharks.
Yeah,
win.
Bargain.
Yeah,
pretty cheap. So I got those. I've got my 2 start collecting Idoneth boxes arriving tomorrow. Hopefully, I've got my Leviathan and my Eidolon. I haven't got a soul square on my boat yet, which I completely forgot you got a boat, so I need to buy one of those. I only remembered when. Yeah, well, yeah, one boat, two halves or one big. I'm not doing two.
So you get 2 boats to just put them in people's deployment zones, pin them in.
Maybe. Yeah.
Make it really easy. Spray them white, Nylock oxide.
No, I was because actually, Fluff was asking for does he do it realistic or not, and I think I want mine to look like a wreck rather than the ghost boat. I actually quite like the
what you could. Mate, go onto Amazon, get yourself some fish tank accessories. You get some different ones. You can get like the Mary Celeste. I just do that.
I'll get myself a big really like badly cast castle and a goldfish. I could just green stuff a goldfish coming out of it and be like,
what's the name of One-Eyed Willie's boat in the Goonies? Get in the comments below. Let us know. That's what Russ should be naming his boats. Yeah.
So, Russ is only collecting armies now.
I'm definitely going to start calling Volturnus One-Eyed Willie now, though. He's got
I'm going to write a story called One-Eyed Willie and the Bloodworm. This would be fantastic.
Yeah. One-Eyed Willie never says die. Ask me about my Goonies story.
But
in real life if you ever see me.
Don't ask him. Don't want to. That's my first stab at an Idoneth army. Tell me it's crap in the comments. That's fine. I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm sure everyone's going to tell you that stab eels are better because
but that's fine. But I like to be renegade, so there you go. But I don't know whether the Soul Squire will stay in the list, but I just like the fact that your opponent has to think about stuff coming on the edges. That's the only reason it's there.
I think you need him because of the fact that you've only got one hero, right? And I mean the king is survivable, and the Soul Squire is not. So but I do think for those missions where you. That's one of the things I always found a nightmare with Deepkin is whenever you were playing hero missions, it was always like seat of your pants because if your opponent could go, all your heroes are dead, you lose the game. Doesn't matter how much damage you put out. I mean, you need to have that extra one.
If you wanted to take the Eidolon aspect of the sea and do the AoE -1 to hit as well, you could have some real fun with people.
I mean, some armies would hate that.
You'd have fun.
All the minuses to hit.
Some armies would hate that. If you didn't already have it across...
Those giants would just be like, ooh, ooh.
Oh, God, that'd be awful.
It'd be like Hello Darkness, my old friend, Ben Affleck meme, but with a giant.
If you didn't already have it, University as an army and a Xeros would be a good ally in there. But you've already got real ones to hit, haven't you?
Yeah. So the idea of this as well is in the shooting army, in the shooting meta, it's like I'd never just good against shooting, right? So
yeah, because of the Forgotten Nightmares rule.
Yeah, and you have to shoot the big unit of Ishlan. They ignore the Ren. They've got an extra save. You know, they're just tanky, so they can just absorb that shooting. Then you go in with your spiky stuff.
Sounds excellent.
On the first turn as well, you're in cover, so you're not flipping the top. Just put your Ishlan forward. They're the first unit. You go like shoot him.
Go.
Don't care.
Yeah, don't care.
Yeah.
We'll have to track your progress on Russ's budget zoological army number 2.
Yeah, exactly. And see when I actually could play some games, which will be a while, but yeah.
So what are you going to do? You're going to get it built? When are we thinking of seeing a tester for this? I want to see your because you're going to do like grim dark style
snacks,
to see evil stuff.
Well,
right? Are you doing snacks first? Are you doing Deepkin first?
My snakes are the quick to paint grim dark stuff. The Idoneth, I want to put a bit more effort into the paint job, so I think they're going to take me a long time, so they're a bit more of a slow burn.
Have you built any of the eels yet?
I have not even unwrapped the boxes.
Mate, they are the best models to build ever. They're like the whole eel is one piece, and then you just stick the fins on and then stick the head on, and you're like, right, that's the eel dead. Next.
Yeah, I know they're quick. The thing that's going to take the time is the basing. So I think
only got 23 bases on the plus side.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I don't have. It's not a lot of models. But for me, it's the basing is like, how do I do it? Do I do it like there's water on the base, or do I do it like I kind of want to do it like they're in the A4C? So it's like they're not in water, but it looks like the ground is underwater. So I've got some ideas, but I'm not going to talk
terrain and change its color, with a wiggly line.
Yeah, basically,
yeah. I think Wayne back in the day when they first came out did like these really cool things where he built up cork and then covered it with sand and it looked like coral.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing like underwater type, like coral type structures, but I don't want to do like the waters on their base with waves and they're above the water.
Yeah,
I kind of want to do like they're underwater, especially if I'm doing them like grimdark, because I want them to look like they're in the deep ocean, like in the darkness of the ocean, because I think that leans into the lore more than having waves on the bases and bright sand. Because
maybe you could look up light source. You know how light comes through water. There might be something you can do with like a cartoony effect where you just have like like 2 lines of light or a particular like doing the scratches on cloaks.
Yeah.
So, like, I think when I did my Eidolon, I painted all of this, like, the fish elements as, like, ethereal, because the lore is, like, they bring the etheric sea with them. So in my head, like, it wouldn't actually be the sea, so they wouldn't be painted, because all of these things are, like, magical manifestations.
Yeah.
So, like, that's kind of, like, you could almost go do them really dark and do, like, OSL and, like, the weird bits of fish, have like the bases dark and do it that way, because contrast lends itself to that if you wanted to do like glazing and airbrushing over the stuff.
Yeah, so I quite like the idea of like the biometric glow from like underwater creatures, so that the little fishes were going to be like the points of light in the dark sort of depths of the fake sea, which isn't actually sea, but that's why I didn't want to do them flying above waves. I think that looks a bit weird, because you're meant to be in a fake magical sea that you bring with you.
Yeah.
But then when you see like a bright sandy beach with waves on it, you're like, well, why are they above it? They should be in it.
This isn't Russ having a pop at your stuff, Fluff.
No. It's just in my head. Plus the fact it's a lot more work, right? It's a lot more work to do that. Yeah. To make those waves look really good, it's a lot of effort and work.
Time.
It's not something that I've done before, so it's like out of my comfort zone. But at the same time, I don't just want to put them on cork. I want to do something a little bit different, but I haven't decided yet. So when you see my army with big blue waves, just forgive.
You can call them on it now.
You can forgive everything I've just said, because I haven't decided anything yet. But I don't know. I think there's lots of different ideas, but I do like the kind of idea of like the pillars, and they're kind of like weaving around either their big long reeds, like seaweedy type plants, or their rock formations, whatever. But it kind of, the way I'm sort of imagining it is Rog from Point Hammered, when he came over to South Coast, had an abyssal demon army with almost like under the sea type pearlescent
metallic.
It's all metallic pearlescent Cthulhu style demon army, and it looked amazing. So it's almost like in the Lovecraftian kind of like weird dark realm that's like sort of like it's in like the otherworld place, and it looks really cool. And I was thinking I want it to look otherworldly, like they've brought this otherworldly thing to where they are.
Yeah.
So because that's kind of how it goes, cool. But I don't want to. It's these sort of things you spend ages thinking about and getting really. You've always put up barriers to doing the project, so
just get it started.
So I just start it,
make it work,
make it decide. But I'm going to put all my stuff on brass rods. So if I ever decide to rebase it, I can just pull them all off the bases anyway. So it's not going to be too bad.
That's the thing. I mean, I think it's quite a good thing. Like me and you talked about, and like this is maybe a little off tangent, and maybe people can comment if there's something they'd be interested in. Me and Russ, before we did FaceHammer Worldwide, we used to jump onto a channel and do like what we're doing now and just chat, like live. And me and Russ were talking about maybe doing something like that with our hobby, and maybe it's something that you can do with regards to like pick a night of the week, and then people can jump onto Discord and we can chat whilst we hobby and do our own hobby.
Answer questions. I'm doing this because I want to achieve final effect Y, or whatever. Yeah.
So that'll be something we might start doing. Like we'll announce sort of like what day, and we might just eventually start doing it in the Discord, and then like migrate it to like Twitch at a later date if we end up sorting out a Twitch stream. And I think that might be quite good, because I think that'll be a way for me and you to do our own hobby, Russ, because like currently we get paid to do hobby for other people. So if we commit to a day, and then Russ can like work on his Idoneth, and we just do it in the evening, then I can work on my Lumineth army that I've not picked up a brush on since I did the Cathar. And it'll be quite maybe a good thing for us to do too.
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Yeah.
So if that's something that you want to see, like obviously, like let us know. It's if you could get involved, ask us questions live.
Yeah, we're talking about doing we're talking about doing a sort of a live hobby hangout do our own personal 1 day a week and streaming it. So if there's something you want to see, let us know. But I definitely want to do the Idoneth. It's just that this is just a starting point list. I just went, well, if I wanted to use Sharks and the Leviathan, I do want to use the Eidolon, but I can't really get it in the list. I don't think the list would be that, if you've got too many points tied up in sort of, if you
it's a different list.
It's like I have got an idea for a more fan army, which I'm also working on, which is more Morathi. So I'm going to have both, but I'm going to I might showcase that later.
Like that more fan scheme.
I really like the scheme. It's my favourite one. That's why I wanted to do it. I like them.
Cool.
Anyway,
awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for listening to the show. So we should have a preview show up, and we're going to have all the Advent shows coming out over Christmas period with a Christmas special. So tune in for that. If there's any more releases and stuff, we'll cover that as well. But hopefully this will be enough content for you guys. Like and subscribe to all the algorithm. If you listen to the podcast, thanks very much. We're still releasing podcasts, don't worry. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you all soon.
Bye.